It's time for the 8-Minute Devotion. The 8-Minute Devotion is a daily message that fills you with hope and encouragement from the Word of God. Here's your host, Pastor Cameron Walcott.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the 8-Minute Devotion. So glad you've chosen to join us here on this Wednesday as we continue our series. We just have 3 episodes left on this theme, From Jacob to Israel. God changed Jacob from being a deceiver into being a prince. And what was it about Jacob? What were the keys to his transformation? The last couple days, we looked at the theme that Jacob was corrected by God. God led Jacob to Laban's house, and Laban was a master deceiver. You know, Jacob was a liar, Laban was a master liar. And for 20 years, Jacob was sort of in the school of hard knocks by being deceived by Laban over and over and over. But it was the mercy of God to work that deceit out of Jacob's own life, to let Jacob hate deception, to lead Jacob to hate lying, because of what he saw in his uncle Laban. Now, after 20 years, Jacob is leaving with his family. They're leaving the protection of Laban's home to head back to Jacob's homeland. And this means he's going to have to come face to face with his brother Esau for the first time in more than 20 years. The last time Jacob saw Esau, 20 plus years ago, Esau said, "I'm going to kill you." Esau was determined to kill Jacob, and now he's coming back, leaving the protection of Laban, and he's going to see Esau. And at this point, he has his 2 wives, he has, handmaids, he has 12 sons, as well as at least 1 daughter, probably a few daughters. Jacob has a large family now, and he's coming back to his homeland. So what ends up happening? Jacob sends a message to Esau. He sends someone ahead that Jacob's coming back, and suddenly Esau comes to meet Jacob with an army, with a company of 400 men. Esau hears Jacob's coming, and he comes to meet him with 400 men. You know, if you heard this, your first thought would not be, "Oh, Esau's just coming to have a good time and say hi to me and give me a hug." And no, you'd be saying, "Oh man, he's coming with 400 men. He's coming to kill me. He's coming to wipe out my family. He's coming to kill all of us." It did not seem like it was going to be a nice visit. 400 men was a signal that Esau intended violence towards Jacob and his family. It'll be the first time Jacob sees him since he deceived Isaac to take the blessing. So Jacob prays. He asks God for help. He arranges his family on the other side of a stream to put the stream between them and Esau. And then Jacob camps overnight, waiting for Esau's arrival. And what happens during this night? Jacob's alone in the camp, waiting for Esau. This is maybe the most famous story of Jacob's life, and I want to spend some time on it. Let me read verse 22 until verse 30. It says, "And Jacob arose that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the field of Jabbok. He took them, sent them over the brook, and sent over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, 'Let me go, for the day breaks.' But Jacob said, 'I will not let you go unless you bless me.' So he said to him, 'What is your name?' He said, 'Jacob.' And he said, 'Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed.' Then Jacob asked, saying, 'Tell me your name, I pray.' And he said, 'Why is it that you ask about my name?' And he blessed him there. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved." I just read a long passage, and it has a lot packed in there. But basically what happens is this. Jacob sends his family across the brook. He's left alone in the camp, and a man wrestles with him through the night. Who was the man? Well, it was a theophany, which is a pre-incarnate appearance of God, often a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ. God himself was the one wrestling with Jacob through the night, doing a deep work in his heart and his character. I don't have time to go into all the proofs of how we know this was God, but I mean, simply verse 30, Jacob says, I've seen God face to face. My life is preserved. Verse 28, the man who was wrestling with him says, you have wrestled with God and with men and have prevailed. So this man that Jacob was wrestling with was not any ordinary man. It was God. And it's amazing that God chose to give Jacob this revelation, that God chose to come and meet with Jacob. You see, God had such mercy and love for Jacob. Despite the many imperfections in Jacob's life, in this instance, in this experience, we see he had one quality of utmost importance, one quality that led to him being blessed and used and transformed by God, and that was persistence. The fourth key in Jacob's transformation, Jacob had persistence. And Jacob realized that this man was not any ordinary man, but this man had the power to change him. And Jacob decided, I am not going to let go until this man blesses me, until this man changes me. He was not easily discouraged, but was determined to be changed. You know, friends, there is often an aspect of wrestling with God in prayer that we need to enter into before we go to the next level in our lives. We need this persistence of Jacob, that we take hold of God and we say, Lord, I'm not going to let you go. I'm going to keep praying. I'm going to keep persisting. I'm going to keep asking for your help. I'm going to keep asking for your blessing. I'm not going to let go. And the blessing here, I believe, it's not about external things. It's not just saying, God, I'm not going to let go till you give me a new house, new car. None of that. But the blessing is for the character of God, for the change of God, for the ministry God calls you to, for the vision God calls you to. You say, Lord, I am holding on. It might be for provision, for natural things to bring about God's purposes. You say, Lord, I'm going to keep praying and wrestling with you until I receive what I need to do your will. You know, it reminds me in Luke 18 of the story Jesus gave about the widow and the unjust judge. There was an unjust judge. He did not care what was right or wrong, but this widow woman kept coming over and over and over. And finally, the unjust judge gave her her request just because she was so persistent. And of course, the example for us, we have a God who's perfectly just, perfectly righteous. And if even an unjust judge will listen to a persistent widow, how much more will the perfect righteous judge of all the earth listen to us when we press in and say, God, I will not let you go until you change me. I will not let you go until you bless me. I will not let you go until you send revival to my city, my church. God, I will not let you go. We need to press in prayer and intercession. I have so much more to say about this, so we're going to have to take this till tomorrow. You don't want to miss it on the 8-Minute Devotion.
Thank you for listening to the 8-Minute Devotion. Please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you listen to or watch it. And email us at the8minutedevotion@gmail.com with any questions or comments. May God bless you.